What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Master League and talking about a team that has been super successful, and it doesn't include any legendary Pokemon. I'm currently 12-0 with this team and approaching my best win streak of 14 games, and it's just crazy for me to think that I'm doing this with a Master League team, because in the past, Master League has predominantly been my worst league out of the three, just due to resources, not having the right legendary Pokemon, just things like that. So to come up with a team, like I said, I'm super excited about it. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the footage, and I'm actually going to play these at normal speed, so that way I can put in some extra information, some extra tips, extra strategies, things like that, and we're not going to feel too rushed. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We are going to end up going up against a Dialga in this first game. Now, that's going to be a very typical lead, so the reason why I decided to lead with Rhyperior is because it's going to absolutely shut down a Pokemon like Dialga, or at least have an adverse effect, and we'll of course talk about it. So, what my strategy is with this is I want to spam off Superpower. Now, if you haven't used Superpower before, it's going to lower your defense and lower your attack after you end up getting it off. And what I've kind of experienced is that a lot of people end up blocking the first one, which makes a lot of sense since it will do the most damage, but in turn, they typically hit back with an Iron Head, and I usually block it. That's just been kind of the strategy that I've done 4 out of 4 times going up against a Dialga, and I've been successful every time with it so far. So we're going to go ahead and try to get to a second Superpower. We really don't have a lot of risk kind of going on with this, mostly because of the fact that we're going to be able to either get knocked out or something, and because they're protecting their Dialga, I'm thinking, okay, maybe they don't have something like a Metagross or something in the back. If they did, of course, I would have a problem with it, but I've just noticed that they've been protecting it. So I decided to swap in with Dragonite because we know Dialga is going to use Iron Head. So even though putting in Togekiss, that would have just been a really bad idea, we know that Dragonite can take that Iron Head, so that's why I decided to opt in with that. Now we're going up against a Togekiss, but guess what? Even though it's got that best buddy boost, I'm going to go Togekiss versus Togekiss, and I should be able to beat it because I still have a shield left. Do not forget about that. That is going to help me overcome this Pokemon. So they're going to hit me with the Ancient Power, and worst case scenario is they get the boost, which they do. Yeah, that's totally great. So they got the boost, and I want you to see how much damage this Ancient Power does to Togekiss after Togekiss has the boost. It doesn't do anything. That is so crazy. So now he is sending in a Machamp. I'm going to get really, really, really close to being able to farm down the Machamp just on Charms alone. So yeah, that's going to be like a huge risk to run with something like a Machamp. I'm in a very good position. He wants to save his Togekiss. It didn't even take me down. That is so crazy. So because it didn't take me down, I still have the Ancient Power since I didn't send it off. And now I just have to hit that Togekiss with the Ancient Power, and we're able to do it, securing the first victory. That was just such a good feeling to be able to do that. Of course, I still had Rhyperior in the bag, but because it had the Ground-type Quick Move, it would have been a little difficult to go up against a Togekiss. It may have charmed me down or whatever. Now we're getting into the second battle. Now, this is one where I just pulled what I would consider to be a very, very good move, and I want to talk to you about it. So when we're going up against a Snorlax, Snorlax does have access to a fighting type move, a ground type move, a dragon type move, body slam, of course, so you honestly can never tell. But one kind of situation that I've noticed is that whenever you're doing this, you're realizing that, wait a minute, they're not really going off at all, right? This Snorlax is really trying to build up energy. So what I'm assuming that they are trying to do is to try to hit me with an Earthquake, since that will do super effective damage, and they probably don't have that fighting type charge move on them. But here's the thing though. What I can do is use that to my advantage, because just based on counting the number of quick moves that they were doing, I know just about when Earthquake is going to come, so I'm going to go ahead and quick swap over to Dragonite, knowing they're probably going to use Earthquake. And even if they baited and used something like a Body Slam, they would have to farm real hard to get back to that Earthquake, and then it wouldn't even do any damage anyways. So we are going to be able to farm it down, make it use its Earthquake, and it's not going to do anything to Dragonite. So that was kind of cool. Now we're going up against a Togekiss. Of course, this isn't like the best situation that we want to be in, but I would honestly rather kind of sacrifice Dragonite because Togekiss is super difficult to deal with, especially if you don't have a counter to Togekiss. And then Rhyperior can also do a lot of damage as well, especially with like Rock Wrecker. So I'm fine with letting Dragonite go down. So in this case, I'm just thinking, you know what? I'm going to do as much damage as possible, and it's probably going to be hitting with an Ancient Power. So that's something to kind of consider. So we're going to go ahead and go in with Rhyperior, and we're just going to try to hit it with those Rock Wreckers. And if it hits us with a charge move, it's not going to do anything super effective. And for those of you asking why wouldn't I go for the superpower, it's because it will lower my attack and lower my defense. Even though I can get it like 2 or 3 turns quicker than Rock Wrecker, I don't want it to mess with my stats at all. So I'm willing to block it. I have to beat this Togekiss because of what is in the back. So we're just in that situation where it's like, okay, he's going to have to choose what he's going to do. He's either going to use his second shield or he's going to save it for his third and final Pokemon. And he ends up letting it go. So now we're going into the last Pokemon. We've got a Dialga, and that it would normally be a very bad situation, right? We just lost the Rhyperior, which is like the hard counter to it. But at the same time, though, when we go up against the Dialga, I think people are a little scared to do this, but Togekiss can beat a Dialga. That's very important to know, because the only super effective move it's going to put up against you is Iron Head. Besides that, you've got the situation where it's using Dragon Breath, which isn't going to be super effective at all. It's going to be resistant, actually. So Togekiss is just going to go in there, forces out the shield, and guess what? All we have to do is just make it down to the bottom, and look at how much damage that charm is doing. And even in a situation where we've got Togekiss versus Dialga, I'm just confident that the Togekiss can beat Dialga with 1 shield. So that's why I end up saving it. The third and final battle that we have is another very common lead Pokemon, and that is Kyogre. How in the heck do you deal with this Pokemon? Well, you go with Dragonite because it's going to be resisting all of those moves. So they end up switching it out, and I'm in a situation where I'm like, okay, technically speaking, it's going to be kind of hard to beat that Kyogre because I put in my counter to it. And it's like, well, what the heck am I going to do? So my thought behind it is I do want to try to protect this Dragonite and maybe get some type of chip damage off on the Kyogre. We'll see if that ends up working or not. But because I have some energy farmed up, worst case scenario, we can at least take out this Dragonite. And then, of course, use Togekiss to try to go up against Kyogre, because Rhyperior is not going to stand a chance against Kyogre. So that's kind of the situation. So we actually ended up beating it there, which is super crazy. I was hoping we could get the damage in. We couldn't. So now we're going to go in with Togekiss. Like I said before, in this situation, the only thing we have to worry about is a Blizzard. And he stored up a lot of energy, never used a Surf. So I was really worried he was going to end up using a Blizzard here, but he didn't. He used a Surf instead. So once again, we are just getting down to the farming situation. So we don't need to be stingy about using our shields in this case, because we don't want it to hit our Rhyperior. So I'm willing to protect it. And now it's just going to be into the farm downtime. But he switches it over to Groudon. Now this is something that we haven't really seen a lot of. I've been looking into using Groudon. It's just kind of a difficult Pokemon to use. So what I want to do is go ahead and hit it with that flamethrower. And then I'm just going to go ahead and let this thing kind of go down a little bit, because we know it's going to use Earthquake. Now that was really helpful with Togekiss being a part flying type, because all of the moves that Groudon was doing were not super effective at all. And so now I'm in a situation like, well, what the heck am I going to do? If he ends up getting to Earthquake, he's going to take me out. And I also need to store energy because of Kyogre could have a Surf or something loaded. So I went ahead and opted to just farm it down with the quick moves and then hit the Kyogre with a superpower to secure the third victory that we are looking at today. And ladies and gentlemen, that kind of concludes the episode. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode and it gives you some inspiration. Maybe you have this team so you can go ahead and use it, or maybe you can use something very close to it. Ultimately though, I think leading with Rhyperior is such a solid option because of so many people leading with Steel type Pokemon. I think that it is just a great kind of starter to put on the front line. But I want to know what you think about this in the comment section below. What team are you using? Are you seeing success? Anything and everything, let me know in the comment section below, and I We'll see you next time. If you want to develop a deeper connection, I would highly recommend you to check out Patreon. We've got a lot of really cool things going on over there. Check out all of these supporters that we have. We are almost up to 100. We are also posting some special content, some behind the scenes work. And if that is the type of thing that interests you, I would highly recommend you to check it out.